Researchers estimate that by the end of our lives, we will spend 33 years in bed, 7 of which we're trying to fall asleep, 13 years at work, over 11 years looking at TV and social media. Women will spend 136 days getting ready, men 46 days, and only 115 days laughing. What's left? 8 years and 2 months. In the next 10 minutes, I'll show you how to never waste a minute of your life ever again. If I were to ask you what your values are, you'd probably say things like family, honesty, and ambition. But there's no more accurate analysis of your values than looking at how you spend your time and how you spend your money. And actually, when we often compare the two, you'll find whether you're in alignment or out of alignment. But where do our values come from? Our values arise from our parents, from our education, from our friends, and our media. So many of our values are planted early into childhood. I'm thinking about the things that you heard over and over again until the age of 5 and 10. I'm talking about the things that your parents valued that either made you value them or made you reject them. If you think about the education system, our values come from the words that our teachers repeated to us over and over again. It may have been our teachers' expectations of us, our teachers' assessment of us, how they spoke to our parents when they came to visit the school. So many of our values are defined by what we learned away from home. And then, of course, we have our friends. How many of you got into trouble when you started hanging out with a certain group of people? Which circles made you change the way you behave? Either because you wanted to fit in or you wanted to stand out. We all know that we're impacted by the people we spend our life around. And then, of course, there's media. Now, a lot of us walk around saying the media doesn't affect me. I know the difference between reality and imagination. But the truth is, the movies we watch growing up, the music we listen to, the celebrities we follow, all of that starts to have a tiny impact on us, and it builds as we age. I'm sure you can relate to a movie that you saw early on in life that has defined an expectation or something you aspire to have. Or maybe there's a song that takes you back to a moment, and that nostalgia just completely takes over your mind and body and your thoughts about life. Now, why are values so important? Because they act as a compass. How many of you find that it's difficult to make decisions in life? It might be a career choice. It might be choosing a potential partner. It might be choosing how to spend your time or what to do on a Friday night. But all of us struggle with self-awareness because we're so disconnected from our values. I want you to try out this simple value assessment wherever you are right now. We're going to do one together over here. So let's take a look at different values we have. I've talked about 3 key areas where we often assign value. I have kindness, appearance, and wealth. So I want you to ask yourself, where did that value of kindness originate from? Who taught you how to be kind? Who told you it was important? Because I'm guessing that just like me, you've met a lot of people that aren't so kind. Maybe someone cut you off in traffic this morning. Maybe someone was rude to you at the grocery store. Maybe someone in your own family circle has had some toxic traits towards you. Kindness isn't something we just all have. Now, for me, it was from my mom. I remember that it was my mother who taught me the value of kindness, who always told me to treat people with a good heart, to come from a place of good intention. So I want you to write down who or where that value came from. Now what I want you to ask yourself, is it you? Is it a value that you think is important? And have you figured out how to express that value for yourself? Maybe you were taught how to be kind, but maybe you were taught to be kind to people even when they were unkind to you. And now you find yourself being submissive and almost people-pleasing, not being kind, but hiding your inner voice. So you can notice how a beautiful value like kindness is actually so much more deeper when you think about it. And the question I want you to ask yourself is, have you internalized that value in a way that it means something to you separate to how you learned about it? For me, I definitely have. And so I'm going to put a tick in this box over here. And I would encourage you to journal about it and write about it as to how you understand kindness today and how it's different from how it came to you, whether it's from your parents or whether it's from someone else that you know. Now I want to talk to you about a slightly more complex one. Let's talk about appearance. We all have value judgments that we make about our appearance and other people's appearance. Think about what you say to yourself when you wake up in the morning and look in the mirror. Are you someone who looks at yourself and says, oh, I'm putting on a bit of weight, oh, I don't look so great today? What are the words you're repeating to yourself in your mind in silence. That voice has often come to us from somewhere else. Maybe it's also in your work world. Maybe it's in your career where you have an idea that you're so passionate about. But every time you're about to pitch it or share it with someone, there's a voice inside your head that says, you're not good enough. Chances are you won't make it. Where is that voice coming from? I remember having a friend who used to tell me that ever since she was young, her sister would comment on her weight. Her sister would comment on her body shape and size. And that stayed with her for such a long time. So she started to have this negative, critical voice towards herself when it came to her appearance. So her value for her appearance came from her sister. Now that value was obviously something that was negatively affecting her. And it took her doing this exercise to recognize that she could actually change that value. I think that's what's so fascinating about the exercise that we're doing, is that we often don't realize that you have the ability to choose, change, and switch the voice in your head. The values you have, the values you've adopted, define the voice in your mind. And what we're doing is recreating the vision that you actually want to follow, the vision for the future that you actually want to live in. So in this case, her answer was no, this isn't me. That isn't the value I want around appearance. That isn't what I want to value about my physical appearance. I want to be able to understand what beauty means to me. I need to now go on that process. I need to now start that journey to actually define what a healthy and what an attractive appearance feels like to me. Now, I want to also talk about wealth, because I think that so much of our relationship with money is wired from an early age. And I encourage you to think about, again, the language in your home around money. For example, did you grow up in a family where money was considered the root of all evil? And I've always found that quote so interesting. It's not that money is the root of all evil, it's the love of money is the root of all evil. Did you grow up in a family where money was seen as God, where money was the only thing that was important, where money was the only thing that was talked about, especially when it came to your self-worth and your value as a family? So a lot of us grew up in families that demonized money or idolized money. Where did your value of wealth come from? So let's say family. And now the question mark is, has that served you? Has that belief pattern led to you experiencing happiness in life? Has it led to you experiencing fulfillment in life? Or is it something that you want to shift? Is it something that you need to edit? And that's the question I want you to ask yourself over here. Is this serving me? Is it helping me? Am I happier, healthier, and more healed because of that value? Or is it about time in my life that I'm going to break that generational cycle and I'm going to shift my value? For me, it was definitely something that I had to shift. I had to rewire and re-understand. I want you to try this activity by yourself. And you may then extending out to do it with a friend or do it with a family member that you trust and you can be open and honest with. What it does is it allows you to, at the very root and very core of who you are, start shifting the direction of your life. I think so many of us are heading so fast in a direction we don't want. And we often wonder, why am I here? What's going on? And it all starts with our values. Now I want you to look at your values and see if they align with how you spend your time in any given month. I think a lot of us often try and check whether we lived all of our values in a day. That's far little time, too much pressure, and it's too overwhelming to try and squeeze all your values into 24 hours. But when you look at a month of your life, that's where you want to make sure that you are living your values, you are breathing your values, you're feeling the benefit and the experience of prioritizing the things that matter to you. So what I want you to do is a time audit. I want you to look at how you spend your time across a month, and I want you to see whether your values show up as much as you'd like them to. For example, if you value family, are you spending those free evenings and weekends with family? If you value your career, your entrepreneurial venture, is that what you're filling your gaps with? Are your values aligning with your time? I saw this great post on social media that said, a 60-minute TV show, time flew by. A 60-minute lunch with family, you're thinking, will it ever end? 15 minutes of scrolling on social media, you don't even realize it. 15 minutes of meditation, I don't have time for that. So often we say we value things, but it doesn't result in how we spend our time. This is a great moment to close the gap. Now, one of the things I want to make sure that I remind you of during this process is that you do it without guilt and shame. Guilt blocks growth. Guilt doesn't make you feel better about yourself, and it doesn't help you build a better life. When you're doing these reflection exercises, I want you to make it a guilt-free zone a shame-free zone, and a judgment-free zone. What I'm encouraging you to do is take some time out to make sure that every single day feels meaningful, feels valuable, and feels like you're living a life that you want to live rather than a life that other people expect of you. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you want to get healthier, happier, and more healed, click the subscribe button so that you never miss out on our next video. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'll see you at the next one.